Meet the following interview guest and 40 other speakers at Startup Camp Berlin. Get your tickets now. Welcome to Venture TV. I'm here with Colette Ballou. Colette, you are an expert when it comes to PR for startups. You have your own PR firm called Ballou PR, and you are the perfect person to talk to when it comes to what the right PR for startups is.
Well, and I'm going to startle you with that and my answer to that, but first let me just clarify that yes, I am American despite the best French name of all time. Yes. Ballou PR is now 25 people and counting. We have offices in London, Paris, and now Berlin. We've established ourselves in Berlin because we really feel it's a high growth area, and we do PR for high growth companies. They can be startups. So we've done work for companies like we helped Facebook enter into France up to its IPO. We helped MusiWave get sold for about 100 million plus euros to OpenWave. So we've done some really wonderful things, taking companies from very small size to very large size, helping them with their exits and everything in between. I myself am actually a...
That's a good PR pitch, isn't it?
I'm an alum of this. Actually, Berlin makes my 5th startup ecosystem. So I've been a part of the New York startup ecosystem, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, of course, Paris, London, and now Berlin. And what we can do for startups PR-wise has changed over time. About 10 years ago, you saw a lot of startups putting money into PR, crazy campaigns. Some startups were even buying the classic Super Bowl ad and spending millions of dollars on a Super Bowl ad. And these days, things have changed for the good. Most startups, in fact, almost every single one I've ever run into here in Europe, you need to focus on your product first. Get your product right. There is no need in to chase media attention for something that, if the media sheds a spotlight on it, is going to crash or just have a terrible experience. All right. Having said that, startups, the point is not to get it perfect. It will never be perfect, but get it as ready as you can for media attention, for people to use it. Because what happens when you shed media attention on something means you bring people to your site, they start using it, they have a good or a bad experience, servers crash. So you really only have one chance, maybe 1.5 chances to make the most of that bright spotlight. So my advice, get the product right. However, there does come a time in a startup's life, it changes depending on their business model, consumer to business, that they actually should be getting a little bit of media attention. My big advice is do not hire a PR agency. I know that's odd coming from someone who owns a PR agency, but it breaks my heart to see startups spending their very precious cash on an agency when really they can be doing it themselves. And this is what we advise them. Choose 3, maybe 5 influencers. Notice I said influencers, not necessarily media, although some of them will be media. And follow them on Twitter, right? If they're writers, follow their blog posts, follow what they write. If they write for Wired or the Wall Street Journal, comment intelligently. Start building a dialogue with them. Don't just say, nice work. No, comment, especially if they write on something that you're knowledgeable about. And you'll start to get their attention. You'll be surprised how many journalists you can reach through Twitter. You'll really be surprised. Ones who you can't get through to email will respond to you on Twitter if they see a pattern of intelligent commenting and they decide that they want to start to engage with you. And cultivate them. Again, and cultivating means not just asking them to cover you, pestering them. It means giving them insight, ideas, tips. And once you kind of establish that good neighbor policy and they see that you're a good resource, you'll become a trusted resource, and then they're going to start coming to you. And that is my top tip. It's a great way for any startup to get the attention of, it could be a journalist, it could be a venture capitalist, it could be a kind of combination of that, somebody like Robert Scoble or Dave McClure. That's the best way to get that kind of attention that can really push your startup to the next level.
Cool. So a cool shortcut through the back door somehow, directly to the journalists or to the influencers, as we learned. But now I want to give you the chance to save the situation. You said don't hire a PR agency, but you would not have your business anymore if you told that to everyone. There seems to be a certain point when a PR agency makes sense. When is that point?
It's hard to determine. It does depend on the business, the size of the business, whether it's going, whether it's stepping out of a market that it knows well and beyond its first 100,000 users. I actually have a few answers to that. Number one, PR is for when you when you can't reach any more users, you've kind of maxed out, and you need to find a way to reach the next 100,000 or the next million users. That is to say, maybe you're doing, you know, a pet food startup and you've reached everybody who's got their pet, but now you want to reach their moms, their parents, their best friends who can also buy pet food from your website. It's a very basic example, but you see what I'm saying. You know, how do you've reached the immediate group, how do you get to that next group? Oftentimes, you need PR when you're stepping outside of a home market. About 40% of our clients are Americans trying to get into Europe, so they really need to use PR to build their ecosystem, their goodwill, to really educate people on what they're doing quickly. Another, you know, you can usually count on the fact that you can benefit from PR when you've probably hit your Series A, and a Series A here in Europe means, you know, 2 to 5 million. Again, it depends on your business plan. But again, we'll talk to you about that. One of the things I find most rewarding about our business is that we probably turn down 8 to 9 out of every 10 folks who come to us the first time around because we tell them they shouldn't spend their money that way. Okay. And people were good to us when we were small and told us not to spend their money that way. We're just passing it on, right? But we do do a lot of, give a lot of free advice. You know, I speak frequently on, you know, PR, things you can do to PR your startup. So we try to give as much free advice as possible. Our newsletter is always full of advice. We try to open source it as much as we can so that all of our startups can grow to be grown-ups.
Okay, so you said don't use a PR agency right from the start, but working together with the media, does that make sense from the start? Like when you've got your product set up and everything?
Get the product right first. Really get it right first. Again, you know, there's a terrible domino effect when you get too much attention too quickly and you're not ready for it. Yeah. You know, the media can get very frustrated with it, and they'll feel burned, and they won't want to cover you again, and you know, then you've burned a bridge. So get the product right, get it up running, get it into a good place. It will never be perfect. If you wait for it to be perfect, you know, you'll be waiting forever. But really make sure that there's a good user experience and that you can handle a certain volume. Because I mean, imagine if you get on BBC Click. That's, you know, that could be millions of viewers. What if even half of those decide to go to your website simultaneously? Yeah. So you want to be ready for those kinds of experiences.
Okay, I know what you mean. So yeah, it was very good talking to you. It was a kind of a strange advice, but it totally makes sense.
Don't hire us yet. Yes. And that's the truth, though. I mean, we wouldn't be good members of the ecosystem if we were just out to try to get every centime we could possibly put our hands on. We really want to make sure that, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats. So we try to just be a part of that tide.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for the interview, Colette.
Thank you.